This is today's reading of the Vermilion Valley Vineyard devotional book, Walking with Jesus.
Howdy, my devotional is coming from John 12 verses 20 to 50, and I will be using verses 20 through 23 for this devotional, and it reads like this. Some Greeks who had come to Jerusalem for the Passover celebration paid a visit to Philip, who was from Bethsaida in Galilee. They said, "Sir, we want to meet Jesus." Philip told Andrew about it, and they went together to ask Jesus. Jesus replied, "Now the time has come for the Son of Man to enter into his glory." Dr. Harold Reed was the president of Olivet Nazarene University. He also authored a book on leadership, and one of the chapters was labeled, "Leadership is Timing." It goes without saying that Jesus was the leader of anything he was a part of, but I do believe his recognition of timing is important. Remember, at the wedding party when he told his mother, "My time has not yet arrived." He seemed to be aware of something that eludes the average reader. Many have suspected why he would say that, but most of it is just conjecture. But in the scripture that we just read, Jesus specifically says now the time has come. Knowing all the factors of this event is impossible from this point, but exposure and momentum of his message and ministry could not be ignored by the religious leaders of the day, and Jesus knew what their method of removal of a perceived problem was. Here is the application of these verses. Have you ever wondered why people do what they do? Here in the scripture, it tells us that Greeks came to see Jesus, but I think it's interesting who they came to. They came to Philip. Philip's name was not an average Jewish name, it obviously was impacted by a Greek home. Of all of the 12 disciples, John writes that the Greeks came to Philip. In their thinking, it must have been logical to go to Philip if they wanted to see Jesus. It may have been because of commonalities they had with him. Who was invited into your life? How did they know they could come into your life? What is it in your life that made them think they had a connection with you? Most people I interact with want to be understood. They rarely will come to an interaction, or they want to be misunderstood. Sometimes people have heard rumors about you. They may know something about your past that makes them think you can understand where they're coming from. There have been times that I've gone down to Julie's Shooting Star to sit at the bar and drink a Diet Coke or Coke Zero. My interactions used to be minimal unless Julie would point someone in my direction. But since we have begun Jesus on Tap, especially if I wear a Jesus on Tap shirt into Julie's, I have instant credibility. Because people know who I am, or at least who I'm connected to. If I'm wearing a Jesus on Tap t-shirt, maybe their perception is that they will have a greater level of being accepted because they have heard about Jesus on Tap and what it stands for. Historically, one of the factors that allowed the Dark Ages to last so long was this idea of cloistering, hiding away, people of faith. Jesus talked about us being the light of the world, and I don't think he wants us to hide our light under a bushel. I believe he wants us to go into the darkness, maintaining the character of the light, the virtue of the light, and to impact the darkness. These Greeks that had a desire to see Jesus, I believe that they were wandering in darkness, and they saw a light that looked welcoming to them, and it was named Philip. In this interaction, Philip is playing the part of a guiding light that showed the Greeks the way called Jesus.